About 10 minutes.
All right, let's start the second half of the meeting with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, so it is my pleasure to introduce Jacob. Come on up to the mic. Let's give Jacob a warm round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob Campbell, and I am an alcoholic.
Jacob.
You know, I get asked to speak often, and you know, it's like, so what you're asking me is, you want me to come up in front of a bunch of people I probably don't know and speak about myself? It's like, God, you guys know me so well, you know. I might not be much, but I am all that I think about, right? And you know, that's probably been my story for the nearly 30 years that I was out there running the streets. But in reality, that's probably been my story since the moment I came out of the womb. All I ever thought was myself. It only got worse as I progressed, as I got older. And then you add substance use, and it really got worse. Just so you know, I do come from AA, but I do have an addiction to some of those other non-AA approved substances. We'll get into a little bit more into that in a minute, but it's an honor to be asked to speak here. Sean had invited me, and Nancy, of course, accepted my. So anything that I say or any annoying, just blame them. Don't get upset with me. Blame them. They're the ones that brought me here. Okay, just so you know. All right. So I would say that my first drink wasn't anything grandeur or anything like that. I was probably 9 years old at that point. I had it in this head. I had a very regular childhood. I'd love to blame everything that I went through on my parents and a bad upbringing and a rough neighborhood, but that just wasn't the case. There was just something wrong with me. Everything I wanted to do was the opposite of what they considered to be good or what society considered to be good. And when I was a young kid, my parents were young, so there was a lot of people around, a lot of just regular partying, drinking, having fun, going to the river. I recognized all this stuff. My life was exciting. Probably around the age of 4 or 5 years old, I began to notice that life was just naturally good and exciting. But then there was these times when all the adults would get together and they'd get these cans in their hands, right? And everything went from fun to amazing. And I always wondered, what is in that can? What is going on? My mom said it's alcohol, it's not for kids. And it's like, yeah, I got to do what she says because she's bigger than me, right? So eventually I would start to grow up and I would get to the point I go, it doesn't matter if she's bigger than me. I realize I can just take. I can start stealing the things that I want and doing things like that. So finally, the older kids talked us into stealing a few beers. And we're sitting around and they're snickering, having a good time, and I'm going to try it first. I just have to know what's in it. And I take a drink of a beer, and I immediately just spit it out all over everybody, right? And I couldn't believe it. And I did discover two things that day. This is on 4th of July, right before I turned 10. I discovered two things. One, alcohol tastes like shit. And two, the adults were complete morons, right? They drank this stuff like it was Dr. Pepper, and it tasted horrible. And I never received any effect. There was nothing that came from that moment. So it was just something that I just set off to the side. Like, what do I want to deal with this for? In fact, the first thing that I would begin to try is smoking marijuana, things like that. Eventually that would lead to light bulbs, methamphetamine out of light bulbs, things like that. Now I'm around 12 years old. I grew up in La Mirada, right? So I was a part of the La Mirada Norwalk School District, and whatever the meatheads there, they had this bright idea that the class of 98 and the class of 97, or the 97 and 96, they were going to try this new experiment with these classes, right? They were going to send us to elementary school from K to 7, and then we were going to go to high school from 8 to 12, right? So there was no junior high, it was recess, and then it was high school, right? And so I was in class of 97, we were the last class to do this. And it wasn't until I went from recess until I get into high school that things became a little bit different. Now there was a little bit of uncomfortability, things like that. You're 13 years old, you're around girls that are almost full grown. There's jocks that are, full grown, they're like grown men, so it was a little bit uncomfortable. And I decided that it would be easier. I didn't realize that this was an option at the time, that I could just not go to school. I don't have to worry about it. So my first time ever being put in handcuffs was 13 years old. They found us at a ditch party with seniors, and I had drinking like 5 bottles of Cisco, And everything was great when I was doing it. I was good for about an hour and a half, 2 hours when I was pounding the bottles. And then I woke up and I was laying in the bush on the side of the driveway, and the cops were putting me in handcuffs. And they take me back to school, and they're like, you've been bad, you did the wrong thing, and as a punishment, we're not going to send you to school. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. How is that a punishment? I'm already not going to school. And then as a punishment, you're going to not send me to school? That works, you know what I mean? So, it had the right effect that I wanted. I'm just not going to go to school anymore. That's what they want, right? So that's how it would be. And eventually, as I began to get older, it was just mostly experimentation, trying these different substances, doing things like that, getting into trouble. Eventually, I would become an adult, and I would carry that attitude into it. And I would start to do things like that would land me in county jail, right? And I would visit county jail in 1998 at 19 years old as a white boy, right? And it was not probably the best time for a 19-year-old white boy to be in county jail, right? In 1998, for those of you who remember county jail in 1998. And it was interesting because I'd always, for my first probably 5 or 6 arrests as an adult, I always got busted on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, right? Which meant no matter what, that 72 hours is going to be 5 days regardless, right? Because no matter what. So I would always get these little examples of what county jail is going to be like. So I'd go in for 5 days, and I'd go to court and get released. Go in for 5 days, go to court and release. And I realized that, I remember even the first time I got out of county jail, and I thought, I'm going to make a decision. I've decided right then and there I was never going to go back to county jail again, ever. And what do you know? A couple weeks later, where am I at? Right back in county jail, right? Because the action didn't have the decision didn't have any action, right? And that will follow into what I learn about AA as I get to that point, right? Now, going through that, from about the age of 13 to 38, I had attended many anonymous programs. I think the first one I went to was an NA meeting because it was in walking distance to where I lived. And but I would attend, at that time, at that age, the 3 most common ones were AA, NA, and CA, right? But it didn't matter. As I got older, they started coming out with the CMAs and the HAs and the OAs and the SAs and the SAAs and all these other A's. And, and I'm an asshole, so I'm like, I fit into all of them, right? And so it works. And but it was interesting because they're all exactly the same. And I'll explain, right? So what happens is I get to the meeting. I look. There's coffee. Good. If it's a really good meeting, there might be some snacks. Perfect. Look around. There's some cute girls. Checked all the boxes, right? This is a great meeting. And then the meeting starts, and it's just wah, 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 wah. Smoke break, sweet. Smoke break over, wah, 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 wah. Give me my court card, and I'm gone. And that would explain every meeting I'd ever been to between the ages of 13 and 38, right? And, I would find myself eventually doing the whole natural progression of things, right? You for a little while you're going to county jail, you're doing various sentences there. Then I find myself in state prison, and then now you're doing multiple terms in state prison, things like that. And eventually I would get to this point where I was doing things that I never thought I would ever do, and I was hanging out with people I never thought I'd be around, right? And one of the things that was really interesting, and that really, as I got a little bit further into the program, I recognized as the insanity that they're referring to. And I in 2009, I had a child. Well, my son's mother had a child, right? I was the father, right? So how that goes, right? But so I'm sitting there, and she had a cesarean section, right? So the reason I bring that up is because it wasn't like this cuddly moment for her. They pull the baby out of her stomach, they give her a few seconds to hold him, look at him, and then they knock her out and they take her in to sew up her abdomen and all this major abdominal surgery. So the rest of the time, I'm the one having the baby, and I'm holding this baby in my hands, and I'm thinking it would be impossible to love anything more than I love this child right now, right? Fast forward 4 years, now I'm running amok. I'm doing everything that I shouldn't be doing. And finally the mom finds out what I've been up to, right? And she gives me, and like most family members, they think that they're going to give you a choice, right? We're going to give him the choice, and he'll choose right. Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, thanks to you. They made it easy. They made it real easy because they're like, oh, it's going to be us or it's going to be that lifestyle. Bye. Not even a second thought. This kid that I claim to love and adore and love more than anything in existence didn't even get a second thought, not one, right? As soon as you gave me the opportunity, gone. And that's what I would do. I would abandon my child for about 5 years because of that. And a lot of the times the justification came through, well, he's with his mom. she has this new boyfriend. I always thought the boyfriend was a little bit of a douchebag, but he was all right. And they lived in Huntington Beach, and they had like a nice school district, and he was in karate, and he had all these things going for him. Why would he want a loser like me? Everywhere I go, I'm getting raided. The cops are looking for me. You know, I can't even walk down the street in the city I live in without the cops recognizing me. And, you know, things like, why would he want that in his life? You know, so the choice, there was really no choice. Later, I would learn that I lacked choice in the moment anyways. It was never going to be him ever, right? Because I had lost all ability to choose at that point. But even prior to that, before learning that information, I always thought, as a justification, why would he want anything to do with me, right? I did him a favor. Never once did it come to my mind that maybe I should stop doing what I'm doing so that I can be the father that he deserves, right? I never thought that. All I thought was, I'm going to do him a favor, right? That's the most selfless thing I can do. I'm going to walk away, right? Because I'm thinking about him, yeah? And that's the type of insanity that I had at that time. You know, and eventually I would find myself in the Salvation Army. I'm not much of a program goer, right? I do one program a decade. When I was a teenager, I went to a program. In my 20s, I went to a program. In my 30s, I went to a program. That's it. I'm the type of person that when they offer me a program versus prison, I'm taking prison, right? That's just the way I am, because prison, jail, those things aren't consequences to me. Those are vacations. You know, I'm gonna be sober, relatively sober for a number of years, and when I get out, I'm gonna take that first blast or that first plunge or that first drink, and it's gonna be amazing. Right, and I'm going to ride that for about a week before everything comes back to normal, and then I'm chasing it again, right? And that was always my excuse. I loved it like that. I wanted it to stay that way. That's how I thought I would die. I always hoped I would die with a needle in my arm, you know, and that's just the way I liked life. And you know, eventually, you know, I always thought of myself as a planner. You know, I always had this plan. How am I going to get the house, the car, the job, the money, the stuff, the girl, all these things, right? And I would execute that plan, and whether it was through legal means, illegal means, or a combination of both. But it was interesting that I never got any of that stuff. All I ever got was prison, program, and jail. That's it. And I never put two and two together. Why am I only getting these things? For 20-something years, all I ever got was those three outcomes, despite the fact that I wanted the house, the car, the job, and the stuff, and the girl, right? And it was like, what's going on? So I finally get to the Salvation Army, and the person that would later become my sponsor, he would laugh at those plans. He'd say, your plans are so well, look where you're sitting. Yeah, that's how good you are at planning. Look where you're sitting. You know what I mean? Isn't it funny that our best thinking gets us into places like these? It gets us put behind bars. You know, when am I going to stop relying on my own thinking? This is what he's telling me, you know, because up to that point, I had despised 12-step programs completely, right? And I did it based off of two assumptions, right? For one, I always assumed that drugs and alcohol were my problem. And based off of that assumption, I always assumed that sobriety was my solution. The only problem with that is I cannot stay sober, period. Not at all. Right? I am the type that has to have forced sobriety. It will never work any other way. I can't just start going to meetings and I'm going to stay sober. That's not going to happen. That's not the type of person I am. I'm going to use no matter what. That's all there is to it, right? They always laugh at the people who sit up in meetings and say, "Don't drink or use no matter what." And it's like, really? Yeah. Did you realize if I could do that, why would I need to come to AA? Why would I be at an AA meeting? Right? I'd just stay at home and not drink or use no matter what. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to drink and use no matter what. That's my life. That was my experience, right? And it was a good thing that I learned exactly what my problem was. You see, my problem was never drugs and alcohol. My problem was this thing that they called powerlessness, right? And I lacked this power that was necessary to stop doing these things, right? And again, because drugs and alcohol weren't my problem, sobriety was never my solution. Right, it was this thing that they call a spiritual awakening. You see right there in step 12, right? It was a spiritual awakening, spiritual experience. That was the solution. And the good thing about it is that I had never attempted anything like that involved a spiritual solution or anything like that. So as far as I was concerned, there was no chance of, I didn't have failure. Like I look at sobriety and I go, oh, well, I know I can't stay sober. I've tried before and it doesn't work. I've failed continuously at being sober. Right, but I've never failed at having a spiritual awakening, right? So I figured I could give it a try. One of the catalysts to wanting that, though, was when I was in county jail for the last time. I had gotten a visit from my son's grandmother on her side, right? And, I thought, oh, great, here they come. Because I am the epitome of like the person you don't want dating your daughter, right? And there was this nice Christian family, and they raised their daughter to be a young Christian woman, and then here I come, right? And it's like drugs, alcohol, and a punk rock band. I got all this stuff going on, right? And we're just partying nonstop. That's all we do all day, every day. I'm in the credit card fraud, I'm doing all this stuff, right? And then here I show up, right? And my first meeting of her parents was her having a miscarriage in the ER at the hospital, in a hospital in Fullerton, right? That was the first time I met her mom, and then later when we left the hospital, I'd meet her dad, right? But for some reason, these people loved me, and I could never understood why. I don't get it. I've done everything that to make them hate me, and they still loved me for some weird reason. And it was interesting because here she comes, and what's weird about it is that one day she was sitting, she was sleeping. This is the grandmother, and she wakes up, and she just has this thought: I need to find Jacob. Where's Jacob at? And she had talked to my mom prior to that, because my mom had given up on me long in my 20s, right? Now I'm in my 30s. And my mom had told herself, she asked my mom, what do you do when you really want to know where he's at and you just don't know and you can't find him? She goes, well, the first thing I usually do is I check LASD.org, right? And it's likely that he'll be in custody there. And if he's not, then I guess you just have to worry. You could always try calling the state correctional facilities and see if you can track them down that way. And, because that's usually where I'm going to be at, right? If I'm not in one of those two places, good luck finding me. I ain't around, right? But or eventually I'm going to be there no matter what, regardless. So you just wait a little while. You'll eventually find me in jail. And so, and I always thought I was a good criminal. Yeah, that's not what my record says, right? So that hurts my ego. I was a good criminal, right? So I just got told on a lot. Anyways, I wasn't good at picking people to hang out with. I wasn't good at picking my crimies. Anyways, no, so she remembered what my mom had said. So this is like 2 or 3 in the morning. She gets up, checks LASD.org. What do you know? Bam, there I am. Then the very next day, because it's already 2 something in the morning, so she's already in that day. The day after that, I had a court date at Norwalk, right? So she calls out of work, shows up to court, finds out a little bit more information. I was actually getting sentenced at that time, and I was getting sentenced to 2 years. But when they implemented AB 109, I'm not a violent offender, so all of my prison sentences get done in county jail. So eventually she would come and see me in county jail after I was about 2 months into county. She would come visit me, and I thought for sure, finally it's going to come, and they're going to come and remind me of what a deadbeat I am, right? And what would happen is really why she came is that she would come to explain to me what had happened to my son in that time that I had abandoned him, right? Because this whole time I thought, oh, he's safe with his mom. She has this dude, whatever, all these things, all that justification that I used. And it turns out that he wasn't safe with his mom, right? And that he had had a horrible experience during that time when she was with him, or he was with her. And basically she had abandoned him while she was present. They would lock themselves in the mother-in-law quarters of their house, getting high, and he would be 5, 6, 7 years old trying to fend for himself for food in the main house with his dying mom on hospice and 6 chihuahuas. And it was just like, that's how he lived. He wasn't showering, he wasn't doing any of that stuff, because there was no adult there to make sure that he was doing these things. His babysitter was her cell phone and YouTube, that kind of stuff. So she had this horrible experience, and eventually the grandparents would come because they hadn't heard from him or seen him for a while, so they'd come and pick him up, find him in this state, dirt rings around his neck and his armpits. He had the diaper rash going down both his legs almost to his knees because he hadn't showered in weeks, stunk like cigarettes, all these things. So they would just snatch him up and take him. And their intention was to never bring him back. They were never going to take him back ever again. Because they could already see the trajectory that she was on, and which was good because eventually she would end up as that group of people that were in the Orange County riverbeds for so many years. There was probably 1,200 people living in the riverbeds at the time by the Angel Stadium. They made a big old fiasco out of kicking them out. They put it on the news, all that. She was in that group. But anyhow, so she came to tell me all this stuff, right? So I'm sitting there listening to everything that had happened to my son in this time. And what it was, and Bill wrote it perfectly in the book called Alcoholics Anonymous. He says it was a devastating blow to my pride, right? I had thought I was somebody, You know, I'd always considered myself a dad or a father, even though I had not done anything up to that point that would signify being a dad or a father. I still thought that. You know, you're in jail, you're in prison, you think you're something, you're partaking in the politics, you think you're about your business, you're doing all these things. You know, I live by this code, I engage in all these activities that, you know, and I think I'm important. I think I'm somebody, but here's the evidence that I'm not. Here's the evidence that really all I am is a piece of shit, right? And in fact, I'm that so bad that if I had heard somebody or talked to somebody about how they were treating their child like that, I would have called them a piece of shit. You know what I mean? But here I am, that person, right? And I'm looking at it, and I have to look at it right in the face, and it just crushed and shattered my ego. And what would happen is that I would end up, and part of the other reason that they wanted to talk to me was that they wanted to give me an ultimatum too. Again, here with the ultimatum, they said that they'd love to help me get back on my feet. They'd love for me to be a part of my son's life. But I had to give up the lifestyle. And if I gave up the lifestyle, they would do everything in their power to help me, even let me live there until I got back on my feet, all this stuff, right? So I'm thinking, and the choice is probably pretty obvious. I've been sober about two months at that point on forced sobriety, so it was an obvious choice. I'm down to do that. But then something weird, I said this thing that was weird, something that I would have never said in the past, and I said, you know, I don't think I can go straight to your house. I think I might need to go to a treatment center. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? And like, who said that shit? That wasn't me, right? And so I end up, you know, after my sentence is complete, because it's still, you know, early in the 2-year sentence, that I end up going the very next day after getting released from county. I go straight to the Salvation Army, right? So that's how I end up at the Salvation Army. And what's interesting is 3 weeks in, you know, and it's funny because I go to the Salvation Army with a particular attitude. You see, I'm capable of changing my personality, right? I can change it all day long. I mean, you have to. If anybody knows anything about fraud, you have to be different people at different times. The problem is I don't have the power to maintain that change, right? So eventually the real me is going to come back out. And what happens is I go to this program and I'm like, oh, you know, please let me in. I'm going to be the best that you have. I'm going to be the best beneficiary. I'm going to do all the work. You're never going to have to tell me anything, blah, 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 right? All this bullshit thinking that this is going to get me in, right? And they let me in, right? And I'm like, yeah. Turns out they had 3 open beds and there's only 3 of us applying for the spot. So I was getting in anyways, right? But 3 weeks in, they closed down the house for this Big Book Comes Alive workshop, right? For those of you that know Big Book Comes Alive, this is 2 gentlemen by the name of Joe and Charlie would put this on, right? And Joe McQueenie would eventually pass that down to some people. Turns out that Joe McQueenie would end up being my great-grand sponsor. And through that series, you know, my sponsor is today, would bring that workshop to the facility, right? And I was pissed. I couldn't believe it. I'm on a red lanyard for, I don't know if anyone knows what Salvation Army, you're on a red lanyard means you're on your 30-day blackout period. You can't do anything at all. Only what the house is doing. You can go out and smoke, you can go out, you can eat, you can do all the basic stuff, but there's no leaving the house. All you can do is what the house is doing at the time, right? So I'm 3 weeks into that and I'm mad. How dare they take my weekend from me, right? Like, what do I got to do, right? And my supervisor, because, you know, it's a work therapy program, so every day you go to work Monday through Friday. And I'm in the warehouse, and then, you know, don't get me started about the warehouse. This is tweaker paradise, right? So I'm happy to be there, right? I love it. This is the greatest job I've ever had, right? Sorting through things. I'm like, dude, come on. You know, like, how could this have been a better program to go to, right? So I'm over there tweaking through everything. Oh, cool. And you know, and I'm just complaining, bitching and moaning. Oh, I can't believe they did this. No. And my supervisor's just laughing, right? And she's just like, and I'm like, what's so funny? And she's like, you know how stupid you sound? And I'm like, who the fuck are you talking to? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? And she's like, hear me out. Imagine somebody comes into the program, right, with the desire to change their life, right? And then the program offers you something to change your life, and you get mad. You know what I mean? Doesn't that just say stupid? You know what I mean? I might just get a tattoo that says I'm stupid on it, right? And when she put it like that, I went, yeah, you know, you're right. That is pretty stupid. I am pretty stupid, right? So I was like, so what do you think I should do? And she said, dude, just like, you got 3 choices. You can leave the program, because Salvation Army doesn't have locks on the door. The only locks are from the outside in. You can go out anytime you want. You just won't be able to come back in until they let you, right? So, you know, you can leave and just suffer the consequences of leaving. So you can sit in the back, you can bitch, you can moan, you can whine, and you can ignore everything that's been said, and you can suffer the consequences of that as well. She said, or you could sit up in front, you could take notes, you can pay attention, you can try to learn something. And if you do that, she promised me, she swore to me, if I did that, I would learn something that would change my life. And that's exactly what happened, right? Eventually, what I would learn is that a program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and when I say program, I'm not talking about the fellowship, okay? There's 2 Alcoholics Anonymouses, right? There's the program Alcoholics Anonymous, that's our book, and then there's the fellowship Alcoholics Anonymous, right? They're 2 different things, right? So the program of Alcoholics Anonymous was presented to me in a way that I had never been capable of hearing before. And notice I say capable because I'm sure in the 20 years that I'd been going to AA, NACA, that someone presented the program to me, but all I heard was blah, 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 and I wasn't paying attention to any of that shit. So I was never capable at that time of hearing anything that they were saying, but now I was finally capable. Now I possessed just enough willingness to hear what he was saying. And the first thing that he said made a lot of sense to me. He said, you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that started the problem. And this is a quote by Albert Einstein, right? And the significance of that was it made sense. This is why I could never hear the message. I went to those meetings with the same mentality that I had that created the problem in the first thing. I like to call it a prison mentality, right? And I had this mentality and I carried with me and I would try to solve these problems with the same, and it was really that mentality that created the problems. How does that work? It doesn't, right? So it explained quite a bit because even when it came to the book, I'd opened the book many a times before. Well, maybe not many, maybe 5 or 6 times. Sometimes you go into a cell and there's an Alcoholics Anonymous book, or you're looking for something to read while you're in there and they throw you an AA book. You're like, what the heck? And I'm opening it up thinking it's a Stephen King novel and it's some asshole named Bill W. And I'm just like, this book sucks. There's no steamy scenes. There's no pictures. The paper's too thick to even use it to roll up anything with. I'm just like, this is the shittiest book in the world, dude. You know what I mean? Like, this is crap book. They're gonna throw that out. At least you could smoke the paper of the Bible, right? So it's like, it has some use. 'Cause I'm not reading it for anything other than that. It's just like, so I had all these things happen, but the mentality was really where the issue was. I'd always had that mentality. What am I getting out of it? I'm always thinking about myself, me, right? And it turns out that all that shit had to be scrapped. In fact, what I needed to do was I needed to learn how to actually read the book, right? Because I thought it was like any novel you read. I'm going to try to get to the next chapter, try to get to the end of the book, to look at the story from a whole, and you have that experience with, I read this story and it was good. But that's not how you read AA. AA is an educational book. It's meant to teach you something. So it requires studying, it requires highlighting, it requires notes. If you have the right sponsor, it'll require homework, right? All the things that I'd been trying to avoid in school, all going to come back right now and slap me in the face, you know what I mean? But it was necessary. And if I wanted to achieve this thing called a spiritual awakening, something that I'd never tried before, something that I'd never failed before, then I was going to have to do it. So that's what I did. And I'd begin to proceed to do those things. And, my first real encounter was with step 1, right? Step 1 is probably, I guess I'll say it's probably one of the more important steps. And you could tell this because Bill W. has 4 chapters. If you're going to count the doctor's opinion, chapters 1, 2, and 3 are all dedicated to step 1. So it takes him 4 chapters to tell us how powerless we are, right? That's how important powerlessness is, right? And I never truly understood. In fact, I could look at the step and go, yeah, I could see a certain level of powerlessness. I don't know to what extent he's talking about, but I can see that there's some powerlessness going on, right? But then it's and life has become unmanageable. And that makes me think, you know what? Yeah, life has become a little unmanageable. But you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to manage better, right? And everything was always tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to stop smoking meth. I'm going to stop slamming meth, stop drinking, and I'm going to go piss for the PO. Tomorrow, I'm going to go into court. Tomorrow, I'm going to go get a job. Tomorrow, I'm going to do everything. Always tomorrow. Isn't it funny how tomorrow never comes? The next day is always tomorrow. It just never came, and I couldn't believe it. And part of the finality of step 1, you'll find in fact, it was one of the readings that we did, the 3 pertinent ideas, right? What was the first one? That I am alcoholic and I cannot manage my own life, right? So not only am I a slave to the substance, that's the powerlessness, but I cannot manage my own life at all, right? And I had to come to that realization. And a lot of that was key. I was capable of understanding because of the moment that I had in jail, where it was a devastating blow to my pride. You see, what happens when pride and ego are removed is that I become teachable. And I'm a firm believer that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that's what had happened, And when I got to the Salvation Army, 3 weeks in, the teacher appeared, and he appeared bringing that workshop. and he began to teach me things that I never thought I would ever want to learn, right? Especially from a book that was written in the 1939, released in 1939, right? Like, who can relate with that? And I never understood, because then I get to Bill's story, and in the past I'd read that and be like, yeah, this guy's a self-made millionaire. He's a World War I vet. He was a stockbroker, or really a stock speculator. Like, I don't relate with this fool, you know what I mean? Like, at all, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know what it's like to slam meth. He doesn't know any of that stuff. He doesn't know what it's like to go to jails and prisons and do politics and all that stuff, right? He didn't know any of that stuff. And I realized that upon reading it from the perspective that I need to try to find things that I find in common with Bill, right? Not just necessarily the situation, but the things that he's experiencing, the mental state that he finds himself in. What I discovered was that Bill's story was actually my story. And what had happened was that the author of the book took my story, changed the name, changed some of the details just so you guys wouldn't know that it was talking about me. Did you know that story is actually about me? It's not Bill's story, it's my story. Right? And that was the significance of learning how to actually read the book, how to study the book, is that I began to have this. The problem is that when I begin to relate with these things, I'm so absolutely fucked. 100%. That's what the doctor's opinion teaches me. That from a medical perspective, we're doomed. Right? It's like receiving a stage 4 terminal cancer diagnosis. There's nothing they can do for you whatsoever. You go to the hospital right now, they're just going to tell you, okay, go to a program. Go to AA, go to NA, go to these places. They don't have anything that they can do for you at all, right? And that's a scary prospect. We go to the hospital to receive help for our ailments, right? And you can't get none there when you're an alcoholic or a drug addict. It doesn't happen. Best they can do is sober you up and send you out. And how long does that take to get high then? I don't know how many times I'd walk from county jail under the bridge over to that, a Chevron or a Mobile that's on the other side, just to get a tall can, a pack of cigarettes. I always find one person that's leaving with me that's going to have the ride and the bag of dope. And I don't even have to make it to the Connect's house. I already found someone leaving county jail that had dope. So it's like we're good. You know what I mean? Like, I never made it more than 30 minutes, 40 minutes out of county jail. I was already found everything I needed. Because that's how I get down. And it's. So I began to realize the unmanageability. When it came to step 2, it wasn't really that big of a deal for me. Was that a timer sign? Yeah. Okay. So as I would progress through the steps, I would begin to have that spiritual awakening. I'd begin to, when I would leave the Salvation Army, I would be ready for sponsorship. My main primary focus upon leaving the program was not getting the job, not getting the house, not getting the girl, not getting the car, not getting the money, none of that stuff. It was getting a sponsee. Right? And that would be my most important thing that I could do from that point on, is find another alcoholic, another drug addict to work with, one-on-one. And that's what I would do. In fact, you know what? There's this little story that kind of reminds me of this, and it always touched me. It always made me feel a certain kind of way, because it was really my experience as well. See, there's this alcoholic, right? And he's walking around and he's bumping into things, right? Like we do. And you could call him whatever you want. You want him to be an alcoholic, you want him to be a drug addict, it doesn't matter, right? We all do. We all end up in the same places. We all end up doing the same things, right? So he's walking around and he's bumping into everything. And one day he bumps into God, right? And he's just like, whoa. And God's standing there with his hands cupped like this, and he's looking in his hands. And the alcoholic, being a little curious, says, hey, God, what do you got in your hands? God, being a little manipulative, he says, this is sobriety. And the guy looks at it and he says, damn, I've been needing me some sobriety. He goes, hey, God, how much you want for that sobriety? God says, well, what do you got? He pulls out his wallet, he looks. I got $50. God says, you know what? For you, it's going to cost you $50. Damn, should have sold him 20. All right, well, God, if I give you my $50, how am I going to get gas in my car? He says, what? You got a car? No. See, sobriety, for you, sobriety's going to cost you your car. God, if I give you my car, how am I going to get to work? You got a job? Oh, man. No. For you, sobriety's going to cost you your job. And he says, but God, if I give you my job, how am I going to pay for my house? He says, you got a house? How'd you ever bump into me? No. For you, sobriety's going to cost you your house. Now he's freaking out. God, if I give you my house, where's my family going to live? You got a family? Sorry, but for you, sobriety's going to cost you your family. Now he's really freaking out. God, if I give you my family, what good is my life? He says, that's right. Because for you, sobriety's going to cost you your life. And on March 19th of 2017, that was the day that I'd be separated from alcohol and drugs for the very last time. And for me to be separated from these things requires four things, really. Three. This is still on three. You got to have a gun, you got to have a badge, and you got to have a set of handcuffs. And then comes the fourth one. I get down there, you got to have a set of bars, right? That's the only way I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. And that's what would happen. I would finally get those four things perfectly in place. I'd get that visit. I'd have that devastating blow to my pride. I'd end up at the Salvation Army, right? I would end up meeting the man that would save my life, a gentleman by the name of Ken Hinge, right? And he would, again, disclose the program of Alcoholics Anonymous in a way that I could understand, in a way that motivated me, that provided me with the willingness necessary to do things that I had never done before, right? Especially the inventory process, especially telling somebody my inventory process, because that goes against everything that we were taught. You want me to write down everything I've done and then tell you? Are you high? You know what I mean? I thought this whole thing was about sobriety. Now you're high? You know, because that's not happening. But I was willing to, because I was out of options, right? And he came to me and he said, look, I know you had all these big plans, the house, the car, the job, the money, the stuff, but I'm going to teach you something different. I'm going to teach you how to put all that shit to the side. None of that's relevant anymore. None of that matters. The only thing that we're going to focus on is God. And that could be whatever you choose it to be, right? That's the beauty of the program. However you understand God is what God is to you, right? So he tells me we're going to learn how to do that. And I'm thinking, yeah, here we go. Here comes the pill. He's going to give me this magic pill and everything's going to be fine. And then he pulls out that damn book, right? Whatever. Yeah. It's too late. I'm already I got no choice. I'm desperate. I don't have a choice. What is it? It's death or it's life. That's the beauty of the program. The program is very black and white. You know, everything in life is either growing or dying. Where do you want to be at? You know what I mean? It's recovery, it's relapse. That's it. That's all. There's no in between. There's no riding the fence. You're either on the recovery side or you're already relapsing. You just haven't done it with the substance yet. You know, and that's the physical part. Relapse is not an event. It's not something that just suddenly happens. It's a process. Some people are relapsing years before they actually relapse, physically relapse, right? And so I would begin to learn these things, and I'd begin to take the actions necessary. I'd begin to have that spiritual awakening. You know, I'd get out. Sponsorship would become my life. It would become my dedication, right? Going to different meetings, sharing at meetings, doing all these different things. You know, the remarkable part of the program is what I learned early on is that it's the severity of my condition that will determine the severity of my treatment, right? This goes for almost anything medically related, right? And until I understand exactly how sick I am, I'm only going to do the bare minimum. If I think I'm only a little sick, I'm only going to do a little work, right? But if I think I'm dying, that changes everything, doesn't it? You know, imagine a doctor handed you 12 pills and said, you can cure your cancer with this 12 pills. Are you going to take one a year? No, the first thing I'm asking, how many can I take at one time? Can I take them all right now? You know what I mean? I'm down. I don't care. You know, you give me whatever the most maximum I could take, that's what I'm going to take. You know, and that's how I began to live. That's how I began to carry, you know, and conduct myself. Everything was related to AA. And one day what would happen is that God would show up again, right? This is a little figuratively, but my perspective on life had changed very dramatically from what it was. God would show up one day and he'd say, you know, Jacob, I'm going to give you back your money. But it's not your money anymore. It's my money. I'm just going to let you spend it, right? And then he'd say, you know what else I'm going to give you? I'm going to give you back your car. But I'm going to tell you this. If you have a car that's too nice for a drunk alcoholic to throw up in, then you got a car that's too nice for a recovered alcoholic. Because it's not your car anymore. It's my car. I'm just going to let you drive it. And then he'd give me back that job. But it wasn't a job. It was so much more. It was a career, right? And the perspective change was so different because every time up to that point, I would go to work about where's my money, where's my how come you're not paying attention to me? How come I'm not employee of the month? How come I'm not getting the days off I want? How come me? But it was different now. You see, I didn't go to work anymore to make me money. I went to work to make the employer money, right? Because it's not my job. It's God's job. He just lets me work it. And eventually he'd give me the home, right? Now, I was hoping for a house, but apparently he didn't want me to pay the $1 million for a house it costs out here in California. But he'd give me a place that I could call home, right? And with that perspective, that it was no longer my home, it was his home, he just let me live there. Now I treat it with respect, and I treat it with care. And it's no longer a place where there's chaos and anger and just rottenness that's seeping through it, right? I acknowledge I'm almost done. And, you know, and the part that was very significant to me was that he said, you know what? I'm going to give you back your son.
That's right.
Right? And he said, and it's so interesting because here's this guy who had no business whatsoever being in this child's life at all. Right? Everything I had done, everything that it had no business being in him. In fact, to the point where I had to accept 100% of the responsibility of everything that happened to him in that time when I was gone. Didn't matter what her part in it was, that's for her, between her and God. But because of the choices I made, because of the things that I did, those things happened to him. Right? If I had actually been a man and made the right decisions or sought help sooner, I could have prevented all those things from happening. Right? So I had no business being in this child's life. But God had a different plan. Because it wasn't my son anymore, it was his son. He just lets me raise him, right? And with that becomes a whole new perspective as well. Instead of him being my son, no, I get to be his father, right? Now I get to finally be the person that he deserves, right? To not just my son, but my mom. I get to be the son she deserves, the brother my brother deserves, you know, the friend that my friends deserve, all of those things, right? And, you know, probably the most significant thing that he gave me was my life, right? And again, I'd go to any distance at this point. That very workshop that came in and saved my life, eventually my sponsor would ask me to teach those workshops with him. Right now we travel the country doing these workshops. We have 3-day ones, we have 2-day ones, we have 8-hour ones. We do all these things at conventions. It doesn't matter how far it is. It doesn't matter how much it costs us to get there. It doesn't matter at any lengths we're going to go, because it's no longer my life. It's God's life. He just lets me live it. Thank you.